Hello and welcome to Take 3 with PT. This is a YouTube series where I take 3 minutes to answer a biblical, practical, or theological question. Today's question is, what can the wise men teach us? I'm not trying to be gender exclusive here. I'm talking specifically about the wise men, the Magi from the biblical story. A couple things that we know about them from Matthew chapter 2 is that these were men who would have served in a royal court, probably underneath a Persian leader or a Babylonian leader. They were adept at reading the stars, doing astrology, maybe even reading coffee grounds. They might even be able to read ancient scrolls and interpret them. They were not kings from the Orient, but they were priestly figures who read the signs. And one of the things that they see in Matthew chapter 2 is this star arise, what we know as the Star of David, and they're trying to track down what this means. And so the first thing that we learn from the Magi is that revelation guides us. For them, they saw this special star and they wanted to chase it down. They saw it as a sign from God. And then they make their way to Jerusalem and ask, where's the King of the Jews? They need a little more detail. And so the religious leaders there, they open up the ancient scrolls, read from Micah chapter 5, and say he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. So then they find revelation in the scriptures, and they follow that. Well, the star shows back up. They go to Bethlehem, they meet Jesus, and then before they head back to Jerusalem, God shows up to them in a dream and says, don't go back to Jerusalem. Herod's got a nasty plot. So there are three different ways that God reveals himself to the Magi: through the stars, through the scriptures, and through dreams. Revelation guides us. It still should guide us today. Primarily, God speaks to us through the scriptures, the Old and New Testaments of our Bible, but he can also reveal himself through life circumstance, through times of prayer where he nudges our conscience, through other people. And there might even be a time where you have a dream and it feels very prophetic and you might talk with someone else about it. But revelation should guide us, and for us as believers, that's primarily the scriptures. This story also teaches us that religion can blind us. When they go to Jerusalem, they talk with the priests, with the scribes, with the Pharisees, who have the right answers, but notice those men do not go with them to Bethlehem to meet the Christ child. They're too tied up with Herod and their political power and their traditions to leave Jerusalem. And so sometimes religion can blind us. Our traditions can blind us. They can make us unloving. They can make us unkind. They can make us feel superior. Religion can blind us, and I think that the story teaches us this. I also think it teaches that God embraces ethnic diversity. Note, these Magi are from the East. They're non-Jewish people. If you go back to chapter 1, the genealogy has non-Jewish people like Rahab and Ruth. And so God embraces non-Jewish people. He embraces ethnic diversity. He wants people to love Jesus. That's kind of what he's looking for. I mean, that's really what he's looking for. And in fact, that's the last thing that this teaches. Honoring Jesus is our highest calling. So these Magi, they show up, and it's not at the nativity. They show up at the house where Jesus is living. They rejoice greatly. They bow down. They give gifts. They honor the King. That is our highest calling, to honor King Jesus.